Good evening. The time is now 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, January 16th, 2024. We will start the Finance and Purchasing Committee meeting. Can I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Bolton?
Present.
Alderman Bolton, here. Alderman Hayes? Florian?
Present.
Guzman?
Present.
Alderman Newsom?
Present. We have a quorum. Item C, motion to, can I get a first and a second to approve the minutes from the December 18th, 2023 Finance and Purchasing Committee?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Guzman,
I second.
second by Alderman Bolton. Are there any questions to the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item D, public comment. Is there anyone that wants to speak on anything that's on the Finance and Purchasing Committee meeting for tonight? Hearing none, we will go on. To Item 2, new business. Item A, a resolution authorizing the procurement of a 2024 Ford Transit van from Curry Motors in the amount not to exceed $56,982.24. The Waukegan Police Department is seeking the approval for the purchase of a 2024 Ford Transit van for the police department's co-responder unit. This vehicle will be used to transport victims, families of crime, subjects in need of social services, or any other transportation needs of the unit. We wish to purchase this vehicle directly from Curry Motors on the state bid process through Ford Motor Company. Through this process, the vehicles are built directly at the Ford plant to our specifications and delivered to Curry Motors as our authorized representative. This vehicle is budgeted to purchase through the co-responder unit this fiscal year, and it's that grant, which will be fully reimbursed through the co-responder grant. We will use line item 244-6244-26493 for this vehicle purchase. Can I get a motion on the floor?
I so move.
Motion by Alderman Bolton, second. Second by Alderman Guzman. Are there any questions to this motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Florian?
Aye.
Alderman Bolton?
Aye.
Alderman Guzman? Alderman Newsom?
Aye. Motion carried. Item B, a resolution approving an agreement with Flourish and Thrive Lab LLC for the development and implementation of a business continuity management system in the amount not to exceed $251,311. Can I get a motion on the floor?
I so move.
Motion by Alderman Bolton, second by Alderman Florian. The Risk Management Department recommends that the city develop and implement a continuity of operations plan to ensure that key municipal services and infrastructure are maintained and continue in the event of emergencies or disruptive events. Flourish and Thrive Labs, henceforth referred to as F&T Labs, is a woman-owned small business located in Grays Lake, Illinois, that specializes in assisting public sector entities with business continuity management systems, BCMS. The company merges innovation with previous knowledge to create a practical blend of evidence-based resilient solutions that fit the complexities of public administration. F&T Labs development process is based on the International Standard for Business Continuity Management Systems. The iOS standard allows the plan to be accepted by all insurance providers. There are 14 proposed deliverables from the proceedings with this process with F&T Labs. The project has been quoted at a price not to exceed $251,311. Currently, the development of the City of Waukegan's BCMS is projected to span 5 months. This project will be funded from line item 660-1698-24438. Are there any questions to this motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Guzman.
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye, motion carried. Item C, a resolution authorizing the procurement of printers and copiers from Impact Networking LLC in a amount not to exceed $40,000. Can I get a motion on the floor?
I so move.
Motion by Alderman Bolton,
Second.
second by Alderman Florian. Staff recommends City Council adopt a resolution authorizing the procurement of printers and copiers from Impact Networking LLC in the amount not to exceed $40,000. The IT department is requesting authority to continue the citywide purchasing and commodities and services from Impact Networking for printers and copies. Impact Networking offers the equipment through a joint purchasing contract administered by Omni and AEPA, whose processes have been determined to satisfy all state and city competitive bidding requirements. The fiscal year 2023-2024 budget provides sufficient funding for these purchases. Are there any questions to this motion?
I do.
Alderman Guzman.
This is for all copiers and printers, correct? Not just one?
Alderman? Yes, it is for the city-wide fire department, police department, and city copiers and printers. We actually do business with more than one company. Office Plus is the other one.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Sir.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Guzman.
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye, motion carried. Item D, a resolution authorizing the procurement of data backup software services from Fortress Data Management in a not-to-exceed amount of $44,000. Can I get a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Florian. Second.
Second.
Second by Alderman Guzman. The IT staff is requesting approval for the procurement of information technology services, including data backup services for use by various departments of the city, and the City Council intends to include appropriations for the services in the city's fiscal year 2024-2025 budget. The anticipated cost for these purchases is $44,000. Any questions to this motion?
I have one.
Alderman Florian.
And I'm sorry I didn't think of this sooner than right now, but is this in coordination with what Flourish and Thrive is going to do? Is this different? Is it something we have to do? Anyway, how does it connect with that, I guess is my question.
Sure, Alderman. This is a company we've been doing business with since 2020. They are our backup and restore partners, professional services, and they lease the equipment to us to do backups. It is a piece of a data recovery, IT recovery model that I currently have in place, and it will be discussed and hopefully improved when we go through this next process.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Guzman.
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye, motion carried. Item E, a resolution approving an extension to the agreement with MaintStar, Inc. for the annual support and hosting of land management system enterprise software in the amount not to exceed $40,466.87. Can I get a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Florian,
I second.
second by Alderman Bolton. IT staff recommends, IT staff requests a resolution to extend purchasing authority through fiscal year 2024 due to the current Mainstar four-year contract being authorized by council in July 2019 and the contract starting date being a year later, in August 2020. Are there any questions to this motion? And this will extend from 2024 to 2025. I believe it's April of 2025. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Florian,
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Guzman,
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Aye, motion carried. Item F, a resolution authorizing the procurement of ticket system printers for the police department from CDS Office Technologies in the amount not to exceed $51,000. Can I get a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Guzman,
I second.
second by Alderman Bolton. The IT department is requesting authority to purchase commodities, maintenance, and professional services from CDS Office Technologies in the amount not to exceed $51,000. This specific purchase will be for the purchase and installation of ticketing system printers for use by the city's police department. CDS Office Technologies purchases are through a joint purchasing. Are there any questions to this motion? And I will, funding is budgeted and will be charged to line item GL code 100-60772-4801 and line item 100-372-4801. Any questions to this motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Florian,
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Guzman,
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Aye, motion carried. Item G, a resolution waiving competitive bidding and approving a proposal for a feasibility study from FGM Architects, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $121,000. The Waukegan Police Department is seeking the approval to accept the proposal offered by FGM Architects to provide services culminating in feasibility study for the building of a new police facility and parking structure. The current police department structure, with the exception of surface level remodels, has not been updated since being converted from a fire station to the current police department. In the past, all architectural proposals concerning a new police facility were based off renovating the current building. Due to the age of the building, reoccurring water damage, outdated technology, building mechanicals, electrical issues, and daily operations, this approach is not feasible. Not only would the existing facility have to be brought up to current building code requirements, but significant structural issues would also need to be addressed, and the jailing and range facilities would need to be brought to modern-day standards. Can I get a motion on the floor?
Actually, I'd like to put a hold on this so we could go back into closed session and discuss the other property that we've been discussing for the last couple of months. So for 2 weeks, and then we could go back into closed session and discuss the other property that we've been talking, decide where we're going to move forward with, one or the other.
You making a motion to hold it over for 2 weeks?
Correct. And then we can move it to closed session to discuss the previous closed session meeting on the other property that been discussing for about a month and a half or 2 months, and decide where we're going to go forward, if we're going to go this way, this route, or the other route.
Can I make a motion to seat Alderman Hayes?
We make a motion to seat Alderman Hayes, Alderman Florian, second.
I second.
I'll second.
Second by Alderman Bolton. Alderman Hayes is seated at 5:44 PM. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, there's a motion on the floor to hold over item G, a resolution waiving competitive bidding and approving a proposal for a feasibility study from FGM Architects, Inc., in an amount not to exceed $121,000. There's a motion to hold this item over for 2 weeks. We don't have to have anything.
There's no vote on a holdover
No other-
unless
okay.
there's a motion to try and overturn that.
Okay. We'll move on to item H. When we hold for 2 weeks discussion for closed session, not in a committee.
So just to be clear, the holding this over in committee means it would appear on the next regular meeting of the Finance and Purchasing Committee, unless you want to
Also-
hold a special Finance and Purchasing Committee.
So this will be the second meeting in February.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we have an extra week between meetings this time.
So this will be held over until February the 20th?
5th.
No,
Oh, it's
the
not-
finance meeting.
oh, I'm sorry, yes, I'm sorry.
February I think it's February 20th. Okay. Held to February Finance Committee.
I know I sat down late, forgive me. Alderman Guzman, why are we holding it over?
Because of the last, the last couple month and a half, we've been having a discussion on a different location, and we haven't came to a conclusion which way we want to go with this. So we need to go back into closed session and decide which way we're going to move with it. Is it going to be the first option or the second option before we start moving anything else forward?
Okay, so I understand, that makes sense. Don't we want a feasibility study? Won't that help us decide on locations, though?
I thought it was just like, let's decide where we're going to go and then we'll spend the money. So let's get concrete, because we keep going into these closed sessions and we have discussion after discussion after discussion, but we never come down to a vote and decide what we're going to do. So that's what I want to do, is get to the point of where we're going to go with this, if we're going to do point A or point B, and then finalize it, and then let's move forward and spending the money, instead of keep on spending the money A and B on both locations.
Alderwoman.
Alderman Hayes.
So it just seems to me like maybe it's a little cart before the horse if we're trying to decide on a location before we decide on what we need. Like if we conduct a study, we figure out what we need. Maybe it's ingress and egress. Maybe it's square footage. Maybe it's technology. Maybe it's, I don't know, lighting or how many floors it needs to be. Whatever the case may be, the feasibility study tells us what we need, which will help drive the determination on the location. So I think before we could decide on a location, we need to decide what we first need within, or to even build a police station or retrofit a building for a police station. So it seems to me like the feasibility study would be the first step. So holding it over just delays the process.
Have you went into the police station? The whole thing needs to be revamped.
Without a doubt.
Whole thing.
Right,
But
so
that's
that's the
what
point
this
of
is
this.
for.
Everything needs to be redone.
That's what this is for.
Yeah, I understand that, but, so Alderman Hayes says, well, let's figure out what we need. We need everything. We need from the ground up. So let's figure out where we're going to actually do this before we start throwing money into both locations.
Well, either one would have to have a feasibility study.
Exactly, so why pay twice, only
Yep.
once?
I think we would just pay once. Listen, I understand where you're coming from, and I'm not trying to be difficult, but it seems to me like maybe it's worth it to move forward on this. So I guess I'd make a motion to oppose the holdover.
I'll second that.
We have a motion to override the holdover. How many votes do we need to override the?
You would need 2/3 of the committee, and so so for a 5-person committee, you would need 4 out of the 5.
4
Yeah.
to move it forward?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a motion on the floor to override the holdover. Do we have to vote
We
on
do.
that?
We do have a.
We have a first?
Can we have a little discussion, or is
Okay.
it? So I just want to point out that this says that the proposed and subsequent contract will provide the following: space needs, environmental, topographical. This study will tell us if the property you're speaking about would even work for this or not. Maybe there's not enough square footage on that property, or maybe there's other issues. This study will help us decide whether that space is feasible or not. We're never going to vote back there. I don't know if you know that. We don't vote in private session. All our voting has to be done out here. So we're never going to make a final decision back there. It's going to have to be out here. So this study will help us understand what exactly the police department needs. I'm pretty sure those gentlemen sitting there know a lot about what they need, but this is a company that specializes in deciding, based on what they want, what they need, what needs to happen. We have the funding for it. Either property is going to need this study, either way. And doing this study may help us decide whether the property you're speaking of works or not, or whether this property works or not, or it'll help us understand what will work or not. We're going to need to do this anyway, and we're not going to need to do it twice. We're just going to need to do it once.
Okay,
So we should do it
that is
now.
my question right there. Do we have to do it twice for both properties, or are they just going to say, is it one price for one property and another price for two properties? Because I don't want to say, oh, well, it's $1 for if we do a feasment for one property, but then it's $5 if we do a feasment for two properties. So I'd rather pay the dollar than instead
It
of
may
the
be
$5.
useful to have either the chief or someone from the command staff come up and talk about what is included specifically in the FGM proposal. Because there are things that are generally specific in the proposal, and there are things that are site-specific.
It lists a lot of things that is going to be using employees and everything to decide exactly what is needed in the police department. Run the whole gamut.
Yeah,
I mean,
but to Alderman Guzman's question, there are things that are specific to a specific location, which would be the current location of the station. And so I think if someone from the command staff can speak about what's included in that, that may kind of get to the question that Alderman Guzman is asking.
Good evening. So this study is to evaluate and evaluate the property right now as it is, okay? They're going to have to come in and do this anyway for the police department, and they're going to ask us and interview us what exactly, like you said, we need for our police department. What spaces that we're going to need, everything that we will need, and where that fits in with a modern police department. Space-wise, how high, how big the building has to be, everything, because this is going to be a brand new building that's going to be built.
So would we have to do, if we decide, you're talking about the current building we have. So
Yes.
if for some reason we decided not to build it there, would a second study have to be done?
Well, if that study has to be done anyway, if we're going to go, I'm assuming it's going to be on at where the other property that we're talking about is NOSCO. That building is going to have to be studied anyway, and it's already been studied by our engineering staff, I believe. So,
Question.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, so we're hearing there are going to be two feasible studies that will need to be done,
regardless, yes.
regardless.
Yes.
So I'm hearing Alderman Guzman said, let's expedite our time as well as our finances.
Correct. So let's do it once, not twice. So let's decide where we're going to go with this, and then if we're going to go with the other one or we're going to stay here. But let's move this forward so we can finally put it on the agenda and then move forward with it before we do a feasible study. And not pay twice, you pay
Alderman
once.
Florian?
But how do we know which property makes more sense if we don't do a feasibility study on each property then? Because if we decide without knowing what we're getting into on either property, whether it's going to work or not, whether it fits or not, all of that. If we decide before we do the feasibility study, what if we go through all that and then we decide and then they say, oh, well, you can't build it here because it doesn't work there. So I think we need the study before we even make the decision because we have to know what we're getting into. You discussed environmental issues before about there could be environmental issues in both places, frankly. So I think we need the study done, whether we're building, frankly, if we're talking about $60 million, $150,000 is pocket change compared to what we're spending. So why make a mistake and say we're gonna try to build it on a piece of property that's not gonna work?
The bulk of this study is going to be the interviews that they do with us to determine what exactly we need for our brand-new building. Which will need either way. Which will need either way, yes, ma'am.
Can I add something too? If
I guess my question is, why are we doing it twice then?
we're not, so that's what I want to clarify. We wouldn't do two studies. So what we would do is we're going to do one study. But we can hire this firm because we have to hire the firm irregardless because there's things we need this firm to do. Whether we go in NOSCO, whether we build a new lot, a police station in a parking lot, or we revamp our place, we would still have to hire an architectural firm to design it for us. So this helps us hire the architecture firm to design it. We can hold off on what place we tell them to study and start working on the other ends of it if we can hire them. As long as we can't hire them, it takes longer. So say we pass this, we hire them today, we could say, hey, we're not sure if we're going to NOSCO or we're going to build out here, but let's start the other part of this study right now. And that's the start part where it interviews everybody. How much space do you need? How many floors do you need? How much building and all that? We can get that part done. And then we could say, okay, it's been decided now that we're going NOSCO or we're going out here or we're going here. This is where we want you to do this, the environmental part of it. So we don't have to rush that. We just want to try to hire this firm to get the ball rolling, especially the part of, they have to interview everybody, almost the entire police department, to figure out, to get the best gist of how this thing needs to look, how it needs to compare.
That part wouldn't need to be done twice. That would only need to be
Just
done
once,
once.
yes.
Okay, I'm in agreement if we're going to do it that way.
Yes.
If we're going to do it that way, then we can move this forward. I'll remove my hold.
That's what it's for.
Okay.
To
if we're
decide.
If we're going to do it that way, that'll be fine. Then we don't have to pay twice. We pay once, get the ball rolling, and then we'll decide when everybody decides where we're going to go, if we're going to go east, west, or whatever with this, and then move forward. Because I agree. We do definitely need a new police station. Everything needs to be redone. I mean, we need to bring it back up
Chair.
to the 21st century.
You wanted to speak first?
I can make a comment after all the aldermen have spoken.
Oh, yes, it was mainly pertaining to Stu as well, like, so if this goes through, then we can does an amendment need to be done, or how does that work?
So what you can do is we can approve this today with direction to Corporation Counsel to work with police command staff to basically break the agreement with FGM into two phases, and that the initial needs assessment and operational assessment be phase one, and basically that upon further guidance from the city council on locations, they can narrow down basically how those needs could be met in whatever site whatever site or sites are identified as possible.
So I'll put my whole, amend it to the direction Corporation Counsel just said, and we can move this forward that way.
So you want to remove your holdover?
Correct, and then go with the amend it, but we're going to amend this to go with the recommendation Corporation Counsel just said.
It'll go in two phases.
Correct.
Okay. All right, the motion, will the motion stay the same, or you gonna?
Yeah, we have the direction on what we need to do to change the agreement.
Okay.
And so both the motion and the resolution will stay the same.
Okay.
And I will make sure that that's addressed.
The direction.
In the scope of work.
Okay, all right. Are there any other questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Guzman. Alderman Newsome.
Aye, motion carried. Alderman Hayes, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. Aye.
Oh, I'm doing the roll call, sorry. Okay, motion carried. All right, item H, a resolution to approve letter of understanding with Green Oaks regarding water billing. This is a letter of understanding to approve acceptance of $40,556.05 from the Village of Green Oaks, Illinois, for an accurate billing from 2021 to 2023. Can I get a motion on the floor?
I so move.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Bolton, second by Alderman Guzman. Are there any questions to this motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton. Alderman Guzman.
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye, motion carried. Our reports and communications, we have in our packets. Did anyone have any questions regarding the reports? Being that it's 6 o'clock and we have committee of the whole. Being none, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Hayes, second by Alderman Guzman to adjourn. All those in, at 6:01, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.